And welcome back to the Off the Clock Show. You're joined once again with Shawn Gervais from OrbisX CRM, as well as Marshall Hill from Pints and Polishing Podcast and hyperClean Car Care Productos. That's right. And by the way, I had a big shout out for a guy in the group. He was asking a new guy, young kid. And it's always good to have young people starting out in
And was
business.
it that guy that said he's 16?
Yeah, that's the one. And he was like, "Where do I start?" And I was
Yeah,
like, "Oh,
that's what I was gonna laugh at. Like
yeah."
this,
I was like, "Oh man."
good for him, right?
Yeah,
Okay, let's just go. Courage. Great job, right?
100%.
Wonderful
Yeah.
job. Wonderful. Great courage. And then you become that old man that goes, man, each generation's getting worse, huh? Right? Like that was
So
the
funny to
two
say.
thoughts that went
Oh,
through my head. Man, what great
yeah,
courage this young kid has.
yeah,
Wait, he's 16 and he's already in Facebook groups just saying, "Hey, give me the answers to the test."
yeah, exactly. Like I just
Like,
want to like build my
oh
business for me,
no, like,
and it's so funny you say that because me, I try and respond to every question that comes in the group, and that whole thing, like there's no stupid question and stuff like that, which I do believe to a degree. However, I answered, the first question. At first, I just put marketing, period. And then I hit send. I was like, it's kind of a dick move. I was like, nah, give the kid a little bit more. You know what I mean? Because like if it was a grown man, I would have just
there
been
you
like,
go. You
market,
felt guilty
figure it out.
because he was 16.
Exactly,
Yeah.
100%. And so I went back and I was like, okay, let me elaborate. So I put a couple ideas, but then I stressed. I said I do recommend going to work for an established business to figure it out because even if you figure out how to get the clients, now you've got a million questions. How do I do the work? How do I manage the follow up with the customer afterwards? How do I? What if something goes
Yeah. I
wrong?
mean, it's so much like,
It's a million things.
how do you
You
answer a
gotta,
question like that? Like, hey,
so
what's the
true.
answer to the test? I'm 16.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, ooh, sounds like just
Um,
courage, 100%. That's an important thing, and willingness to be out on your own doing business. That's great, but there is nothing wrong, and actually, it's kind of a shortcut if you go work somewhere, learn some of the ins and outs. You're saving yourself a lot of time. You may think like, oh no, I want to be self-employed tomorrow.
okay, let's stop right there because I
So,
this is something that people said. We say it's a thing, but once you just said it, I go, okay. I think what people are doing wrong though, they hear go work for somebody and they go get a job at another detail shop
ah,
or at a
yeah,
dealership or at a car
yeah,
wash because I want to be in the industry. But what is the advice that you gave that 16-year-old kid? Learn what?
the business side. Oh,
Marketing.
well, the marketing. Yeah, the marketing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That
Maybe
was the
we should
first
start
thing.
saying to people, don't, hey, go get a job. Say, hey, go get a job at a marketing company,
Because
at
then you can
a
start any
at a
business.
website company, at a anything that has to do with
Yeah,
selling. Go learn how, if you want to
yeah,
go work at a dealership, don't go work in the back, go work in the front, learn how to sell something.
yeah,
Right. So don't go learn more skill.
yeah.
You can do
It's
the
true.
skill at your own time at 8 o'clock at night in your garage.
100%. Yeah.
10:30 on a Saturday night instead of out doing something else that everybody else is, right? If you're a 16 or you're a young kid, you realize sacrifice is going to be in play. Courage
Mm.
is one thing, but sacrifice
It's going to be a
10:30 on
big
a
one.
Saturday in your
Yeah.
garage working on your skill set because you really want to be in business, right? Like there's different.
Yeah, it's true. And if you look at it, like I started the auto shop, auto world, and my dad was thinking I was nuts when I started it. And his reasoning, his rationale for it was, what do you know about cars and like servicing cars and stuff? And what he didn't understand at the time is I'm a sales guy. I didn't have to know anything about cars. It could have been, we're going to start I don't know, an orange plantation. It could have been anything. It's the sales skills that I had that, like, even when we were looking at starting Auto World, and I wrote this in my book, we were thinking literally of growing lettuce there. And we were like, okay, we're right next to some major hubs where there's, some stuff for grocery chains. I was like, that could be, something that churns out seven figures. Who knows? And it didn't matter what the product was. It was, I had those skills to sell, and those skills pay the bills. And so it just happened. I was like, oh, the automotive industry, that's the one we're going to go after. And we built it into a successful thing because of the front end sales. Because reality is, I'm not there cleaning the cars anymore. So even if I became the best detailer on earth, I'm removed from the equation, but the business is still going because we have sales in place, right? And so that's, yeah, but marketing, that was key. So I did feel bad though. So I went back, elaborated a little bit, and then I was like, okay, I felt I wrote enough, gave him some boom, 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 here's some good tips. And that's where, if it was me and I was in his shoes, I would have taken that, run with it, because, start there, crawl first, and then I would have come back, circled back. Okay, that was great tips. I studied up on some marketing. I did this, did that. Now I have another question. But he just started boom, 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 next questions. I started to realize quickly, I was like, ooh, I'm basically like, you want the whole blueprint of how to just like, oh, if I just step here, step here,
Like
step
I
here,
said,
now I'm
yeah.
successful.
You feel like that old man going, oh,
Yeah.
this generation, they're doomed, you know.
Yeah. So I had to kind of nip in the bud. I was like, listen, here's what you got to do. Just go work somewhere that's established that you can learn the business practices, you can, learn about, customer relationships, all these kinds of things. Then see if this is going to be a good fit for you. Because the reality is you're trying to almost jump ahead, 7 chapters, but the end of the book is going to be terrible if you don't have those core chapters,
Yeah.
so yeah, but hats off for having the courage
Yeah.
to
Courage. It's
step,
crazy.
step into the
Mhm.
industry and ask those kind of questions. But I think now is time to
It's
circle
also
back.
something that I think you got to take a moment and, as there's other young and there's been some young boys that have been kind of pushed out over some, and which kind of is interesting with different, you know, groups and different, even companies kind of like bringing this kid in and doing social media posts with them and really, raving that the
Yeah,
industry is so great that this young, I mean, he was a young kid. I don't remember his age or whatever. I mean, he was younger than the 16-year-old. And you just, for a moment there, you just, those of us that our lives are from this, right? Like,
yeah,
I kind of look at it and just go, hmm, like,
mm.
hmm, hmm. So you're basically saying 35 to 12, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
But then at the same time, you're also saying, hey, got to use these products, or hey, you got to use this, this kid uses this. So, you have,
yeah,
I don't know. I've always found that to be fascinating once you see these, and some brands, like I said, brands really like put their arm around this kid and like
yeah.
showcased
Becomes
him. And,
the poster child or whatever,
yeah,
like yeah,
like
yeah,
it's really odd.
it is,
I don't
yeah.
know.
And for me, like Tyson fight coming up, he's 57. Age is just a number, apparently.
Yeah, when is
However,
that fight?
July 20th. Yeah,
There
yeah,
was a okay, July. It was just a minute ago as I was, waiting for this link, and so I was scrolling through Facebook, and there was an
yeah, yeah. Oh,
advertisement
it's
for
everywhere.
uh no, it was him of and it was like he was doing all this, and it was like when he was X amount of age, he tried to pay a zookeeper $20,000 to go in, let him into the ring with a it was some bear or something, and it was
Oh,
like fuck, like no, it was a one of those gorillas.
oh shit. Oh man.
Come on, man. There's no way you're not going to be
There's
sitting there.
no way. Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
there's no way. Like, he had the craziest stuff there back in the day, right? Like, he
Yeah,
turned a really weird, interesting moment
yeah.
than jail and about. And I don't know. Like,
And then the
yeah, that's
tiger.
going to be a good fight. Yeah, the tiger. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Because you
or is
got to
it?
think,
It's an exhibition on Netflix, right? So, how good is it actually going to be?
yeah, that's the thing. Is it confirmed as an exhibition?
Well,
I
they're trying to make
wasn't
it
sure.
a
Trying to
regular,
make it
but yeah, it's an exhibition. Yeah.
right now, exhibition. Okay, yeah. See, me, I was hoping it was going to get, sanctioned as
No,
a
that's the
legit
hype.
fight.
It's exhibition, but they're trying to. That's going to draw more hype, right? If they're like, "Hey, it's going to
Yeah,
make it legal," like that's just going to raise the hype.
yeah, yeah,
Don't get
yeah.
sucked in, Sean. Don't do
Yeah,
it.
don't get sucked.
Get sucked in,
Just
like you did
wishful
with the
thinking.
Heat's hat. Like, what's
Yeah,
going on with that, man? How's a Canadian wearing a Miami Heat hat? Like,
I
you got
don't.
sucked. You still got the tag. You got the little. You got the sticker on the top still too. Like,
Yeah,
you're
it's out there.
you're right in it. You're a Heat
Yeah, yeah.
fan, aren't you?
Big fan. No, no. To be honest, full disclosure, I do like the hat, but got it for free. That's why I like it. But yeah, it was one of those days I didn't feel like doing my hair. So it's oh, actually it doesn't look too bad. And yeah, Marshall's over there like, yeah, luxury problem to have there, bro.
Yeah, right.
But he's freaking asshole. But no, not a super fan. However, I will say this though, because I'm not a real big sports fanatic in any way, shape, or form. However, when I saw the most recent game I saw with the Sens when they were playing here, and that's our team here, the Senators. I don't know why we couldn't come up with a decent name for a hockey team, but anyways, so the Senators when they were playing against the Florida. I want to say Panthers. I think it was Panthers. I don't remember. Anyway, the team in Florida.
I don't
But
follow hockey.
okay, yeah, yeah, and me neither. See, not a fanatic, but I tell you, I did watch a few more games of Florida after that because they spanked the living shit out of our team here. Like it was like 6-1 or something ridiculous. Actually, I don't even know if we got a goal that game. It was brutal, but because of that, I did kind of become like a mini fan for a few days. But it just quickly faded. I don't know, man. I'm not a huge sports. I do enjoy watching live sports, usually in person. I can't do the TV thing, but I've never been able to just become like a diehard fan for any team or something. You know? How about yourself?
Yeah.
No?
No. No. I
Yeah.
mean, I Die Hard is the interesting thing, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
the
Because some of them,
fanatic. Like I can
yeah.
say I never have. Like, do I like teams? Like, did I used to always want to watch the Patriots because I wanted to watch Tom Brady? Like, yeah,
Mm.
like that was the thing. Like when when there was a game up in Denver and I could go see Adrian Peterson play. Like, yeah, like
So
Peyton
for you, it was
Manning.
more
Yeah, of
you it was
course.
more
Like
the player, the person, the
yeah,
yeah,
definitely more of a player. And I think that's why I like fantasy football and stuff like that. It's not so much about the team. And some of that could
player
derive from, listen, it's Oklahoma's where, I mean, I'm born and raised. We got like one and a half football teams, like,
yeah, yeah.
we don't have any. So it's either Kansas City or Dallas. So, dad was a Chiefs fan and a Cowboy fan, so we would watch all of them. I never, I would just kind of like
Never
watching players and stuff.
one
So,
direction, yeah.
yeah, for instance, when the Thunder finally started getting some players here, and I didn't go to the first game, so the Supersonics in Seattle, had some problems with getting fans to show up. So they did this
Okay.
like movement over to OKC, and it was something to do with something happened there too. I don't remember the story. This is Must got to be what, 20 years ago or something. I mean, this is a while ago. And, it took years and years and years for the OKC Thunder to actually develop into a team. And I never went. It wasn't until
Okay.
they got KD. It wasn't until they got the beard. It wasn't until, they started getting
Yeah.
these players and then we had this great team. I went, oh, and the
And
reason
that's
why
when
I
the interest
knew
develops. Yeah.
was because my customers were talking about the game. Hey man, what are you up to
Ah,
this weekend? Oh, I went to see the Thunder. Oh, you did it like, and the hype started growing inside of every dealership, to car wash. Like everybody started talking about the
okay.
team. So then, right, logically, then makes sense to okay, I should then go check out the team. I should be a fan of these players because that's what everybody's talking about.
For sure, yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
I can see how that would develop, yeah. And
yeah,
it's funny, me never been a super fan, and I found out recently that some of my staff are fans. And how I found out is through one of my other companies, we got some tickets, and I said, well, what am I going to do with all these tickets? We helped them out with something, and they said, here, we'll give you 12 free tickets. So I was like, well, what am I going to do with 12 free tickets? I asked the family if they wanted to go, and everyone was kind of like, kind of tired, not really into it. None of us are super fans like that, right? On a Thursday night, if it was a big game, between two teams we know or something like that, then maybe. But anyway, so I was like, well, take the staff. So talked to everybody, and I said, hey, what do you guys think? Thursday night, you guys want to go to a game? And anyway, so many of them were super pumped, and some of them even told me they're like, "This is perfect. Now I don't even have to buy tickets." I was like, "Buy tickets? You were gonna go to the game?" And they're like, "Yeah, of course, every week." And it was like they were looking at me like I was crazy.
yeah,
And holy shit, man, I had no idea that we had fans there. But then it got me thinking. I was like, man, a lot of our customers, like we asked them what about sports teams and stuff like that, but I've always told them not to go too hard down that road because there are fanatics out there where you could almost turn off a customer if they are a diehard fan. You say the wrong thing or something. If they like a different team, like it's a dicey area. That and religion are two things I told staff. Like, just tread lightly, right? But I've started to realize that I don't think we're leaning into the support and the spirit that exists in the city. Like, even though I'm not into it, there's thousands of customers that are, and so if we can kind of piggyback on that somehow. So to date, we've never even given away tickets to the Sens. And I was like, geez, if we did like a raffle or something like that, with customers, I bet you that'd be a huge hit. More so than if it was like, hey, you could win a free detail. They would probably give us all their information, year, make, model, name, email, if they knew they had the chance to win tickets. You know what I mean? So it's,
All right, let's chop this up for a second because you and I are both going to fall into the category of it's always great to give something away and get something, like it's a good thing.
yeah.
I told you before, like this was a thing here, the Thunder would come to a preseason game in Tulsa. So, I first started with just a couple of managers, but then the next year, a couple more, to eventually I had 10 of the local managers from other car washes or dealerships, even finance department guys, and we would all go to the game. Sid, at that point, we'd moved down to second row and it's preseason
Wow.
game. So you're getting really great price on tickets. And,
Yeah, of
you're still going to spend some money, but hey,
course.
you're
But
there's
it's,
there's some we were right behind the players, and I picture of KD literally 15 feet away from me.
geez, that's amazing.
For the people with me, I mean, right? Like that's stuck. There's a
Yeah,
reason then when they went to the next location, they called me to come follow and distribute to that place. Like there's a reason people, come and get attached if you can provide them a moment, right? An
yeah, the unique
experience.
experience. Yeah,
I think for detailers, it's got to be, that is kind of interesting. How can we if I'm a detailer or just detail shop or a mobile guy, like give, I don't, kind of gets cheesy when people do these like Facebook giveaways and hey,
yeah.
follow this and click this. Like, I don't think
Upload a
that,
photo, comment, tag a friend. Yeah, it's like
yeah,
all those steps.
please don't do that. But there's got to
Yeah,
be a way that somebody can start using some of these things, this idea. Then how would they market? How would they get? Hmm,
it's
maybe not.
tricky.
Maybe
Yeah,
we would even say you shouldn't. Maybe that's something you should avoid. I don't know.
yeah,
Hmm.
the one tricky aspect is, and one of my staff said this to me many, many years ago. We had a company called Prize Max, and we were giving away prizes from local businesses. That was the whole premise of the company. And then we would charge those companies basically a fee per email that they could email all the people that entered to win afterwards. And initially, it was just a matter of let's just get any kind of prizes we can on the site to just fill up the site full of prizes. And this guy had told me at the time, he was one of our coders, and he said, hey, listen, he says, I understand that we want to have many prizes, but he said, I think what's better is if we have fewer prizes and we restrict the amount of people that can enter. And I was like, yeah, okay, I get it. But like, no, just have any prize on there. And he said, no, no, no. If you get really specific to certain things, and maybe it's not even free, but they could win a discount or something like that, you end up with high quality lists that way. If not, you end up with what he was calling at the time prize whores, people that just go and they just enter any contest they can, just trying to win whatever because it's easy, it's fast, and it's free stuff, right? If they win, so I think you would have to be careful with it because let's say I'm going to give away some tickets in hopes of getting people in for a detail. Are you
How's
getting
that
people
trade?
that want a detail or just because they want free tickets,
And
right?
that's an odd trade. Yeah. How do you give
Yeah.
away tickets some for like I just don't think that's the right way. And let's go to this. Like
So it could be
how many
wasted.
people how many people going now? There are wealthy people that go to games. I'm not saying that, but majority of people are going to sit and the tickets that you're going to get, listen, most of us
Yeah,
aren't
they're
going to
not.
buy the floor seats. So come on, you're going to
It's
spend the
true.
$100 and get the cheap seats. Do you really want a customer that's going to sit in the cheap seats?
Yeah, it's it's true.
Don't
It's
know.
true.
I don't think you do. And this
I
gets
don't think you
to
do.
kind of where you go, hey, what are you willing to what it's a gamble. That's what it
Yeah,
is. What are you
it's
willing to
true.
risk? You want to risk $2,000 to give away some floor seats? I mean, you hear of like construction companies and banks doing that. You don't hear, a detail shop doing that. What about this? What about this? And this is something that I found pretty fascinating. My stepson has made a club soccer team.
Nice. Right on.
I didn't know really, I quit soccer after fifth grade. So I played competitive baseball and then went on that way and played football now. So soccer is really confusing. So these, I always just was like, well, it was competitive soccer. Da, da, da. No, like there's clubs.
Yeah, yeah. Like actual.
We pay a fee to a club, then we pay to a fee to a team, and there's like this. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
But our club, hmm, you know what they wear on the front of their jersey?
Where?
Jackie Cooper Imports with the
Ah,
Mercedes symbol. So the local
ah.
dealership has found a great. Once I saw it, I went, that now that's genius.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
going to spend
yeah.
some money, but year after year, how many people of high net worth are going to see this Jackie Cooper Imports with a big Mercedes
Yeah.
with kids running around all these teams? And I just go, okay, now I think we're onto something that a detailer could do.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not to that level, but maybe you do. I don't know. Don't do your kids' team. Come on, everybody's like, my kids are greatest, and we're playing flag football. Like, I get it. No, like a middle school team, or like go find some type of competitive, whether that's badminton, soccer, football, whatever,
Yeah.
tennis. But go towards some stuff that you could actually invest some money, spend, but it's
Mm-hmm.
gonna see at and we're in sports fanatic world. So these people are once a sponsorship happens and people attach you with their fantasy of sports, like
Yeah.
you're in. Like,
It's
so I
true. Yeah.
really think that I
And that
really
would
love
likely
that.
have a much
Yeah.
bigger impact too.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I know like when we sponsored the fun run, there was like a fun run here. They were raising money for charity, so the kids were running. We sponsored it by giving away water bottles, and so
Yeah. And that is one thing. Go hit some of those, but that would staying in that sports and staying in that thought process, like,
yeah, yeah.
what if you found, and this would be fun for Auto World, like, I wonder
Hmm.
if you go try and find some,
Oh, I already know. As soon as you said it, I already know several. Like even my
yeah,
daughter's one of the clubs too, and there's clubs for everything too. Man, there's local choirs. There's all kinds of stuff. But well, choir might not be good, so good because
you do
well,
need to think, right? And that's why
but
I
my
don't want
point is
people to
there's
go
group.
like, oh, well, my son plays T-ball, so I'm gonna go. Don't do that. Don't do
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
go get some
I think
type of
identify your customers.
competitive, like somebody, and don't do recreational sports. Don't go put some banner up at some place. Like, you need to figure out how you can really spin to get into some competitive team and have something on them that
Yeah,
that is your name.
I think the key with the competitive side is that the demographic you're going after is
That's
different.
my point. Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Just, like I know here, there's thousands of clubs or teams and all kinds of stuff, but they're just public. Anyone can go, and a lot of the times it's very inexpensive to join.
Yeah.
Uh, excuse me. Oftentimes it's just paid for by the government here. Versus the competitive side, like if you find a competitive hockey team here, for example, like
Yep.
those parents are shelling out thousands of dollars. You know what I mean? It's and
Trust
that's
me. Trust
and
me.
and an important
Like,
thing too is those parents show up to all the games.
yep.
You know what I mean? They
Yep.
they don't miss. They're there. They're cheering. They pay attention, and those are the guys you really want. But yeah, that's smart. So I think this might be one of the first episodes where you've just thrown out a tip ahead of time
I
here.
pre-tipped Sean.
Yeah, you pre-tipped. Yeah, you. This is crazy. I'm marking this day on the calendar. That's fantastic. See, at least it's not me this time. That's good. There we
Community.
go. Yeah, it's the community.
How many episodes? And I finally pre-tipped him.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of these little like giveaway things though, one thing I thought about doing recently, excuse me, we're starting to get a little more hyper focused on particular brands of cars. And we've noticed a shift with, the Cybertrucks coming and all that stuff. We've noticed a shift with Teslas. Anyway, I thought about, you can just like reserve one for like $100 or whatever it is, and then you can give away your reservation should you want to. I thought about it. I was like, man, imagine we just got some reservations and then just like gave them away to some people. But I'd have to look into the logistics of that. But things like that, like little things, I'm starting to sort of think outside the box and target specific types of brands and vehicles. And but the one, so like speaking of fanatics, the one group that I have found has always, always, always been just kind of like a gold mine for us is Jeeps. That has I don't know what it is about that community, but man, those guys and girls, they use Facebook like crazy, Instagram, everything. They just it spreads like wildfire. So anything you do relating to them, it's madness. And so we've started doing these like kind of like selfie center where when the car's all done and everything, so before they take off driving it, they want to get some nice photos. And so we set up a little area where they can go and they can, have their vehicle there and they can take their own photos. We tried taking some of them for them, but they wanted certain shots, angles, and they wanted to be standing next to all kinds of stuff,
Mhm.
So we just let them do the whole thing. They take off. But I'm telling you that more people have come and then asked us. They're like, yeah, and by the way, when I'm done, I want to use the selfie center. And I was like, Jesus Christ, it's crazy. So,
Funny, isn't it?
anyways,
Yeah.
it's wild, man.
Good for
But
you playing on them.
yeah, 100%,
Yeah.
man. I love them. And then, but there's groups like that too for the Tesla side of things too. And we never really went too hard in that area. But what I've noticed is I've started, you pay attention to what some of the big brands are doing, right? And so when you see some of the marketing change and shift, like if you follow some chemical companies or you follow some, film companies, things like that, you start to see the vehicles that they're putting in all their advertisements, or you start to see the things that they're pushing. When they start pushing certain, brands or makes, models, things like that, it kind of gives you almost a head start over everybody else before they realize it, And I've been seeing that a lot lately, especially on the film side, where they've switched all their imagery. A big chunk of it now is just pure Teslas that they're showing there, and it's a weird thing because the Tesla drivers, they absolutely love their cars. They love it, and they love the company. They love the whole mission thing behind it, everything. It's like a cult almost, and so if you can piggyback on that. So we've actually, sort of dove into that. But anyway, I'll dive into that with my tip because my tip's about something similar. So anyway, but yeah, I think that those kinds of things are key. And what you need to do in 2024 is start thinking outside the box. Ultimately, with things like the suggestion for going after the teams. I'm going to figure something out to do with some tickets because I can get these tickets for free or damn near cheap. So I'm like, got to do something there. But 2024, I think a lot of people are seeing things change with the new search engine, updates and Google and people's sites getting shifted around or even disappearing completely. I think a lot of people are scrambling right now, trying to figure out, they're like, geez, it hasn't started off like a regular season. I've had a lot of people say the weather is, kind of up and
Hmm.
down in places. I haven't noticed it personally. Our shop is just right on track, continuous growth. But I've been, seeing a lot of posts in different groups, and I've been hearing from people that things are different this year than what
Hmm.
they were expecting from last year. Yeah. What have you seen or heard?
Well, they must not have been listening to all your tips.
Definitely not. These are randoms in different groups.
Right?
They need to tune in, that's for sure. But
Wow.
yeah, because for the first time ever, I had some downtime. We're going through a server migration. And as part of that, I ended up with some free time. So I was like, okay. So I spent a little more time on Facebook. Remember, I told you last week I was taking a hiatus and I had some free time. So I was like, I'll go through. First time ever, I started just answering some random comments that people had. I know. I should have said, stay away, Sean. Just stay in your lane. But I saw some people that genuinely were just
Hmm.
struggling and looking for some help on things. So I, replied and ended up in these long conversations with people and helping them out. But it it was fascinating to me how a lot of people are taking this is happening, this is happening, this is happening, this is my circumstance. It's all out of my control. But what can I do now? And I'm like, well, I don't know, man, because a lot of that's in your control. But if you weren't already doing things before, you got to set up that foundation to be able to deal with those kind of things. Like, you know,
There's a there's a survival of the fittest that's not fun to, it's not politically correct to talk about. Right? Like,
yeah, yeah.
I
It's
mean,
like not for everybody.
this isn't
Like,
for everybody. Like
yeah,
it, it's been
that's true.
it's been, you know, Hollywoodized, you could say, or
Uh,
what would be a better way of saying, like, you know, these social's done a great job of encouraging people, and I'm an encouraging person and believe in positivity. But this idea that just because you think of something, like it's just going to happen, like I'm pretty sure
yeah.
back in the '80s we devoured that with Field of Dreams movie. Like, if you build it, they will come
It
is
will
not a
come.
reality. Like, You don't just get to have a business and say that you'll be around. Like,
Hmm. It's true because
I
things are
feel for the
evolving
people that are
fast.
struggling, and at
Yeah.
the same time,
Yeah.
like I have a much more appreciation for the people that I know who took jobs
Hmm.
outside of detailing and then just detail cars because they enjoy it. Clean some cars every weekend, detail a couple people at night. Like they really enjoy their life. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
they, they really enjoy what they do. Then you have these people that you read about and you just go, yeah, man, like,
Maybe it's not for you. Yeah.
hey man,
It's true. Yeah. And so, do you think there's any merit to? Oh, I guess how would I word this? Some people maybe are just so wrapped up in the actual work themselves that they're not paying attention to some parts of the business side, and now they're starting to. Do you think there's any merit to them going that direction, or do you think they should more just stick to what they're doing, if, especially if they enjoy it, and outsource everything, like marketing wise?
yes,
Okay.
but they won't pay for it, right? Most people won't.
Mm,
Most people won't pay for
that's
it,
true.
so they just won't do it, or they'll do it themselves and they'll be half-at. Like
Yeah.
I, most people won't do it,
Yeah.
Shawn. Most people won't
Yeah.
do it,
This is
and
true.
I
Man,
think it
I always
goes.
have such a
I think it goes
good.
deeper to the fact that if you think that you can ask why, or complain about why, like if you just even have
Mm,
that mindset to start off, hey
maybe.
man,
Yeah.
uh, simple fact that you're asking that question
Yeah.
probably should go, you're going to have a better life, man. It's going to be a lot better for you. I'm sure you maybe, take you a little bit to find a great job that you're really happy with, but you will. And then
But
your
and you'll be
life will
better
be
off in the
better.
end. Yeah.
This isn't for you. Like
Yeah.
you can't ask just the fact that you want to ask that question.
Yeah.
It
It's
puts you
true. It makes
already on
sense
the,
because
the downward slope.
yeah, because that was the one guy I was dealing with. He was asking me if he should start to learn all this stuff, and my responses back were like, "Yeah, absolutely." And then it was like, "Well, where should I start?" And I'm thinking, I'm
Yes.
like, "Jesus, man!" Like, and I started realizing how to like guide him through this. And it was like, for me, like when I don't know something, there's so many resources now where you can start to figure something out. And if I gauge things, how long it's going to take, if I can't find instantly how I could do something quickly in a short period of time, I switch my gears and I start looking for someone that already does that. And I'm like, okay, if this is going to take me 14 hours to learn how to do it, and then it's going to take me 4 hours, every couple days to do it, I'm better off to just find somebody to
But
do that.
but my
Yeah.
partner Nick, his point is always like most people don't get into business with enough money. They get into
Mm,
business because they don't have money. Now, if you have the
mm,
money and you get into business, then you would take your advice and you would
yeah.
already have X amount of money saved up. I can go pay these people to do this. I can go pay these people to do that. And then I can go do this, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that's the smart way. But
It's true.
but
A lot of people will start. Yeah.
most detailers are like me, and I just quit my job and just jumped out of
Just
the ship
started.
and tried to figure out how to swim. Right?
Mm.
Like,
Yeah, yeah. That's true though. That makes sense because like even when I started Auto World, same thing. Like we started it, we had money, even though we didn't have to inject a lot of money into it. If
you
you
still had
factor
money
in,
to inject.
still have money to inject if in case we needed to. Like when we got into, tinting, we had to buy a plotter. We just had the money and we just bought the plotter. But similarly too, if you factor in, we had a printing company, a marketing agency, and we already had the cell phone store that helped as well. But like we had all these pieces. So if you look at
Yeah.
things, it's like okay. So if you factor in, if we didn't have those, that would have taken what money, right? Because that's how we got all that stuff done. It was just we got it cheaper because we owned the farm basically, right? But yeah, see it's a sad thing for me when some people just don't get it. I think, and that's where I it goes back to that thing. I start to feel bad and guilty that I'm not guilty per
Well,
se. Like,
and I
so selfish.
understand because we have dreams of things we want, right? Most of us have
Yeah.
this, no matter if we're 25 or 45, like there's always something we want,
Yeah.
right? So the 1+1 that we've been taught is, you know, own a business. Then you'll get
Yeah,
what you
yeah.
want, right? Like,
Just gotta grind.
right.
You gotta grind.
So I'm gonna, if I pre-tipped you, I'm gonna go ahead and then tip you. Just might as well go ahead and roll out
All right.
first then. Because I was at a point where I just go, you know what, this is so what do you do to get a customer, right? To that 16-year-old boy's point, to people's question, like, I'm infatuated with people that don't know how to talk to other people.
Mm,
I think one big success, like one big reason I had success moving from my job in ministry, church, to a business ownership is I already was my training was to be I was studying different cultures to go then take the gospel to those cultures. So it was a sociology, missiology, and it was how to present.
yeah.
Well, that's sales.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
This It's what it is. It's selling for the church or the kingdom or whatever you want to define it. It's still sales. It's still walking up to somebody and starting a conversation and then getting a result.
Hmm.
And I didn't really think about that till later when I learned something inside of, I took some of those, go take this business development thing or, come to this seminar, I didn't know what I was doing. So I was trying to learn from different people or learn things. And listen, you see this, you're a website guy, right? I've talked about this before with website guys. They want to have you do this about us page and tell your story.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You could go, I think when you came on my first time, I asked you to tell your story of why you got into detailing. And
Yeah.
it's funny now, I'd still listen every once in a while, I'll go listen to different people's podcasts. And, I just laugh now that people haven't gotten past that. And it's, hey, tell us
Yeah.
your story. Like your story actually means something.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait, hold on. What did I just say? Did I just say your story doesn't mean anything? Well, that's ruthless. That's pretty cold hearted. I mean, this is a cool story. So this past weekend,
Yeah.
I we just Googled. We were wanted some steak. We were down in Oklahoma City, and I found this place called Cattleman's. And here's their story. Um, I'll skip through it because I'm a slow reader and it won't go good. But basically, in 1945, Cattleman's was owned by this guy named Hank, but he loved to gamble. So he's let's see, it said it was like New Year's Eve or something. They were down in Oklahoma City. The Bitmore Hotel was running out of luck and made a desperate bid to bet against this other guy.
Okay.
And he gave up his restaurant
Oh shit.
as a gamble against this other guy's fortune.
Damn. Yeah, yeah.
And he lost.
Ooh,
So
ooh.
the other guy then keeps, and it says even right here, it's a symbol. The 33 brand still hangs on the west wall of Cattleman's. So the guy that then took over, like, made it another part of the brand, like what he rolled his
Wow.
die, right? You go, wow, this is a really great, like, that's a story. But we also are using our
That's
imagination
intense.
quite a bit to fill in some blanks.
Yeah, yeah.
And therein
Man.
lies a lot of problems with stories.
Mm. Yeah,
Tell
yeah.
me your story. Is that really what's going to sell somebody? Do you think
Mm.
your story of why you got started, this is what's those business development people, they always like, man, you got to know your why. And I guarantee you, every listener that's going, they're like, yeah, I know my why.
Yeah.
I've
I
talked
can
to you.
guarantee you it
Trust me, I
doesn't
know it.
matter.
I
Yeah.
have conversations with listeners here, other listeners, and just even in the conversation, they'll be like, well, you should probably know a little bit more about us. Here's why we got into detailing. I'm like, I had to tell this guy on one of our pubs, and I felt bad for it, but I just go, hey, listen, man, it really doesn't matter.
Hmm.
It
It's
doesn't.
it's true though. Yeah. You're it's so my to put things in perspective, my wife one time she had said to me when I was I was working with a client and I was like, man, I've rewritten, it was literally an About Us page. And rewrote it maybe, I don't know, 50, 11 times with the guy. And my wife was like, listen, when we got together, aside from the fact that you knew I didn't have kids, the only thing that mattered was you would want to know if I wanted kids. I was like, well, yeah, but I was like, isn't that part of your story? I was trying to figure out what she was telling me. She's like, no, no, no. The if I wanted kids is the benefit to you. If you want kids, you just want to know if that's going to be the result that you get. You could care less about when I was a little girl if I wanted this kind of a son or a daughter, whatever. It didn't really matter as much. And I was trying to figure out what she was saying, and then she's the one that broke it down for me. She's like, "You're the one always telling me." She said, "You can talk all day long about the features, but what are people buying? They're buying the result. They're buying the final thing that what it's going to do for them." And I think that's where a lot of people get tripped up is that selling features, you can talk about features all day long, but selling features isn't really going to sell your product. And similarly, my about us, my why, my story is meaningless to the end user. Someone using OrbisX, do they really care why I built OrbisX? Do they care that I built it so I could help out my shop and this and that? No, they want to know how is it going to
Whoa,
help
whoa, easy
their
there. Whoa,
shop.
whoa, whoa, whoa. Stop. Whoa, 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 whoa. I mean,
Oh
I
no.
was agreeing with you until you're starting to like take my tip out and put yours in. Like, hold on a second here.
Sorry, no, no, I was just
You just tried to out tip me in my own tip. But that is one of my, like at the end of my, that's what I want to talk about.
all right.
So I had to cut you off. That's why I
Yeah,
had to cut
yeah, I
you off. All
appreciate
right.
it.
So it, I want to say if people that are a little confused right now, I just want you to understand like your story doesn't matter.
Mm.
Sorry
It sounds
if that's
cold, but
hard to
it's
hear.
yeah.
Um, it doesn't matter. I I don't know of a customer of mine that if I actually told him that when I sat down and I was eating this meal and like
Mhm.
is that would make him go, oh,
Did
you
it?
should then detail my like
Yeah, yeah.
what that happened like uh so the other part about it doesn't matter unless you don't really know what you're talking about, and then it really matters. Because I
Mm.
heard somebody, which I mentioned, there's still podcasters that first question is tell me your story. And I like to listen to different podcasts, just see how people talk with it. There's a guy that was on. Okay, I kind of would be curious, who is this guy? I seen him around, what's your story? Well, I got started walking around neighborhoods and I really grew a lot of trust in my customers. And the trust happened because I would be there in front of them. I took this idea around like bug men and the yard guys and all that, and I'd tell them, hey, I was around the corner cleaning, Bob's car. Or, I'd say Chris, or I'd use something. Well, I guess I actually was lying to them, but I mean, they trusted me because I said that, and so I grew this trust in my customers, by telling them this story.
Fabricated all bullshit.
I went,
Jesus.
do you not realize that you just put out you're a guy that wants to tell other people
Yeah.
advice and give them tips? Do you not realize you just told the public on a
Jesus.
podcast that you started your whole career by lying to people? Do you not know
Jesus.
what you're saying?
And
Like
that's where the story becomes because that's where the credentials come into play, where it's like, okay, like what's this person?
it goes back to what you in a
Not.
sense of what you talked about, like fanatics and team, but like if somebody does value honesty, which
Mm,
most of us do, you just told everybody that you're not an honest person. And
yeah.
now this other group that you work with and everybody that watches your social media, if they would have heard it, would know that
Mhm.
your entire career is built off of a lie.
Yeah.
Like what? Why would you want to say that to people?
That's
Do I have
crazy.
things in the closet? I'm sure I do, right? Like, do you have things
Yeah.
that you probably did some, right? Sure, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm never going to
Everybody
tell
does.
people.
Yeah.
Why would I come out and say, I started my career by lying to people? You should
Yeah.
trust me. Like,
Jesus.
huh?
It's crazy.
It's
And that,
wild. The
yeah.
next thing is in your story, you need to stop telling people about you.
Mm.
Like
So what
the
would you
fact
suggest?
that if we can realize that our story doesn't matter, that our why doesn't matter. Do you ever see that on your Facebook? Does it ever come across? There's that marketing where some guy's yelling out of a barn or somebody else being like, "You're focusing too much on the product.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Hey, you're focusing too much on yourself."
Yeah,
You think
it's
a high
true.
net worth individual cares about why you're detailing cars?
Yeah, and the answer is no.
Or do they care about what's that HOW word you used a second ago?
HOW. Oh, the how. Yeah, yeah. I can spell it, I promise.
So, it's not so much about you, it's more of how you can help them.
Mhm.
All
Yeah.
right. Now, to make sure that I can put out tangible, real tips, I'm not just going to sugarcoat or cover up, or I'll go after people that I call are talking heads and they just love to throw out advice. Listen, there's now another guy. I need to send you this screenshot. I screenshotted this guy that he's now putting. I don't know what all he does. He's gotten into a couple different things, but now he even said, and I'm giving out tips too. It's like, great. Here's more tips. Wonderful. More people want to tip out. Great.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. So at Cattleman's, I'm sitting there and there's this wonderful, and listen, I love to talk to people. And I can also be like, get the right. Like,
Yeah,
depends on
yeah.
the person,
Depends on the, yeah,
right?
exactly.
You can tell by a smile, which you and I have talked about. And so when somebody's a nice guy, and then when they're talking, and it's like, okay, I want to chat with this guy for a second. Here's where every single person needs to learn a very valuable thing to grow their business when it comes to telling your story, right? Stop telling your story. Stop focusing on you. It's not about why, but it's about how. So you're going to get a question. Always happens. You strike up any conversation with somebody. Most of the time, if it goes off after a minute or so, hey, what do you do?
Mm.
Oh, what do most of us say? Well, I got to tell my why. I got to tell them my story. Well, I da da da, and they just start throwing bomb, right?
Mhm.
We took a moment and realized I want to see if there's some type of transaction that can happen here or some
Yeah,
type of referral. And so I need to stop thinking about the product and think about,
yeah.
right, something else. Stop thinking about me. What do you do? Ah, well, do you know some people that, maybe it's a soccer mom that has an Escalade and she's always busy running around her kids, but really would love to have a clean Escalade so her husband's not always mad at her. Oh
Mhm.
yeah, I got it. Yeah, I know this lady. What do you do? Oh, well, people that are really fascinated about their vehicles and like they've saved up for a long time. They bought their Porsche and they really take care of it a lot. Oh yeah, I do. So do you see how for a moment, just at the split second, we can ask a question about somebody we're wanting to actually meet,
Mhm.
right? So do you know somebody, right? So I'm already maybe get a referral if he does. And I can know immediately if this is going to be good or I need to go ahead and head off. Let's not even talk like,
Yeah.
right? Like
Like we're done
we
here.
all know in sales, you got to
Yeah.
know you don't want to sell. I'm not a salesman that wants to sell everybody. I don't sell ice to igloos, right? Or whatever that is. I
Mhm.
sell ice to people that need ice. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I don't, I
yeah.
do that straight line, right? That's that straight line method, right? Like, I want to know if you want to be sold or if you know somebody that wants something that needs something. So I need to start off by saying, do you know somebody that is like, okay, and
Makes sense.
fill in the blank, right? Like you could even just say, somebody that likes the car cleaned.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, right? But the more descriptive in a short moment that you make it, it will implant into their mind, like, okay, yeah, I do know that person or I don't know that person. But
Mhm.
what mostly happens, it doesn't matter. They will assume that you are something. And so this guy and pretty much every other person that I've done this with, they'll say, oh, so you detail cars.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, so you da da da.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm still not focused on me. Ah, so that means you know somebody that need. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, such and such, or such like, or him. He goes, oh well, I'm out in the country. I did it. Great, I'm out. Then I'm just gonna. We're just chopping it. Like it doesn't. He even later was like, oh man, you got a business card? I was like, no, I don't have a card. Like I, well, I already know where we're at here. I don't need
Yeah.
to. It, this is no. This. I'm just happy to make an acquaintance, man. Great job, man. You're a wonderful person. Enjoy your food. But
Yeah.
I have a chance there instead of telling some story and trying to make things about me. I have a real tangible chance to get to some information. Maybe he knows somebody. But if I start telling him all about what I do, what's he going to
Mhm.
do? Uh huh. Yeah. Uh huh. Oh, okay. Yeah. Uh huh. No. Oh,
Yeah.
you know somebody that likes da 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 da. Oh, so you detail
Yeah.
cars. Oh, well, so you know somebody that does that. Well, yeah. Mary Jane, Bob Smith. Oh, okay. Yeah. So, we do. And then you can give them a little bit more of, okay, well, sure. We can help Mary by such. And then, right, move into the referral, move into the close, or maybe it's that person, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. It's true though. It's funny you say that because so recently I've been looking at
and you
getting
don't
into.
have to lie. Let's be,
Yeah, that's a crucial thing. And in fact, in everything you do with your business stuff, full transparency is always going to come out better. Like even that 16-year-old kid, 100%, if he was to just, the best way to get customers would literally be upfront, being like, listen, new business, young kid, lean into that. That would, to some might seem as a weakness, it's actually a strength. And say, I'm looking to take on some, customers and gain some experience, da da da, and then just get into your whole thing and probably be more successful that way. But the lying side, it always catches up to you. But man, that's unreal that just live from podcast. Like, yeah, basically built my whole career on bullshit. That's
he didn't
wild.
even know what he was saying. Like, I mean, the
Hold
host didn't even like, and I just went, wow, really?
on, wait a minute.
Okay, I'm done. And that's what I did. I went, I'm done here. Like, there's no reason to even listen to anything else. I'm
Yeah,
done. You
yeah,
just
yeah,
told me that you built everything off of a lie.
man. Yeah, it's
Oh,
crazy. The lawn care guys around here, they do the same thing. They
and it turns you off, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
brutal.
instantly. Yeah, they come in. Oh, there was one that happened actually. This lady, it wasn't for it was for a charity, but it wasn't for like a service type thing. But she said the same thing. She said we're raising money for I don't know, some cause. I don't want to get into what it was, but anyway, she said most of the neighbors that I've been talking to on your street are committing to $20 or $30 a month, right? And I was like, sure they are.
Yeah.
Right away. I knew.
Who
I was
wants
like,
that?
that is bullshit. And what does that have to do with me? Like it's nothing, you know what I mean? But the reason I was mostly turned off was because, and charities are known for this, they don't break down like the how as much. They tell you the why we're doing this, why we're this, that, blah, blah, blah. Like we're so great because of this. But I still didn't know how my funds, my donation was going to make
Mhm.
an actual impact. So I'm like, so am I just paying for a CEO's dinner or contributing to his flight or like what am I doing here? I don't like I know why you're doing it because you guys want to feel good at the end of the day apparently, but how is my money helping? And that's where they do a terrible job. A good job to contribute to your tip here is I've been looking at getting into boating with my wife, and we were debating, do we buy a boat or do we join a club that has boats for rent or whatever the case is? And there's this program called Freedom Boat Club. They're in like 375 different locations in North America and I think Europe as well. Anyway, long story short, they push you through this presentation pretty hard, which is, you know, very salesy. But they never once told me why they do this. They never once told me, any of those things. They were really good about telling me about themselves in a different way. And it falls very much in line with what you're saying by focusing on the how. And what they did is when you were talking about the statement there, like when you're talking to the guy and you're like, hey, do you know someone that da 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 da? They, man, it was like playbook. They start off and they're like, do you know someone that loves the open water? Do you know someone that loves the outdoors? Like it wasn't even like they were talking to me. It was like they were asking me about someone else, but I'm the one going through the presentation as if I'm buying it. And it was all these things. And I was like, damn. And then it was like, all of our members say that they, absolutely feel like a weight lifted off them because they don't have to maintain their boat. All of them feel this, that, da, da, da. It was all these different things. Man, I'm telling you, I got wrapped up in it. It was just like, take my money, take my. It was so good.
Mhm.
I learned so much about the company, why they do it. They do it because they, want to make money, but they want to provide certain services. I learned so much about the benefits. They didn't even have to tell me too much about the features per se. It was more just I learned what it was going to do for me without them even telling me it was me. They were saying it as if I might know somebody, and I was like, "Fuck, I'm somebody. I'm that somebody."
So in
It was
the end of the
really good.
conversation, that's what you have to say, right? So, right, okay,
Yeah,
Mary Jane, or that person's me. Like, okay, well, here's how we help people like that. Still
yeah,
don't put yourself in the box of, yeah, I'm a detailer. I mean, sure, if you want to say that, like, yeah, I own Bob's detail shop, and here's how we help people like that.
yeah. It's
Like
true.
it's a great starting point, and
It
it's a
is.
for everybody that wants to go. How do I start? How do I grow? How do? That's it.
Mhm.
That's how.
How exactly? It's funny, because like when I had my website company and I was fully involved in that full time, was we weren't ever expressing ourselves as web designers or anything like that. We were problem solvers, and we focused more on what problems they had and then what kind of solutions we could do, because oftentimes it wasn't just building a website. That sounds like it's just a static thing. It's just, okay, you build websites, how many pages, this, that. It wasn't so much building that product. What we were is we were facilitating conversations, and they were just conversations that started out one way. It was customer goes online and they're looking for information, and that's where the conversation started. But the goal was to facilitate that conversation from online to ideally offline, where they've now sent you an email or they've called you on the phone or something like that. Ultimately, to walk in and swipe their credit card. That's the goal. So we were just facilitating that conversation. So the website was just one component, but maybe it was just a landing page they needed. Maybe all they needed was just a YouTube video with a phone number. Like, who knows? So it was more just those kinds of things. So I find detailers often put themselves in a box where it's just, yeah, I'm a detailer, I detail cars. And it's like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Didn't
Versus
really
it
tell me anything.
doesn't tell you anything. Yeah, but if you focus on the specific problems that they have. So, for example, and I'll lead into my tip, is that we've been going heavily after Teslas, and a big reason is we do a lot of wraps, and there's not very many wrap companies in our city, and we also do a lot of PPF work. And Teslas are renowned for having terrible paint and so on and so forth, right? So that's where we come in. So we focus on those pain points a lot. And what we're doing is the same thing we did with the web companies. We're just facilitating that conversation to go from that problem they're having to offline. But if we were to just say like, yeah, we're detailers, or yeah, we're paint protection installers, you know what I mean? Like we would just be boxing ourselves in. It's like, okay, that doesn't tell me anything. It tells them nothing, right? Versus if like that's what you would want to tell a government agency. Like, what do you do? This is what we do. They know how to categorize you, whatever. But when you're talking to a customer, you very much want to put yourself in a different frame of mind. I would say is what it is, right? So leading into my tip then is I think that the word of 2024 is now going to be precision and getting precise with your target audiences. And that's something we've talked about before, and a lot of marketers talk about. You have to, narrow down your audience. You have to, target, men between this age and this age, or something like that. There's all kinds of different demographics. But I think that a lot of people, I think, Marshall, that a lot of people are scared of getting precise with their marketing because the minute you start to get really precise, okay, so let's say you say, okay, I'm going to service, all makes and models, but I want customers that make this much money and they're, primarily men and so on and so forth. You think you've done a good job. People stop a little too broad, I think, and they don't get precise because they're scared of making the wrong decision. If you get super
Hmm.
precise, people are fearful that if you're wrong, it's on you.
Alienate everybody else.
Yes, exactly. But by thinking that you're closing doors, I would argue that you're actually opening a lot of doors because the more precise you can get, the more you're going to be able to target that specific group. Um,
Because you would start going down the wrong trail, and you wouldn't quit at the trail. You would
yep,
just backwards out of the trail and go find a different trail.
exactly, exactly. And so stop having fear about being wrong because you can always go backwards. But
Yeah,
by
good point.
being,
Good point.
yeah, by being too broad, a big problem is that all of your marketing messages just
I've
become,
always questioned that too. That's why I was kind of right in it with you. And I was like, oh, that's why. Like I've always
yep,
wondered that myself. So apologies. Didn't
exactly.
mean to
And this, no, no, no,
make
that's
you
okay.
into
I
it
did
too.
it to you earlier. And so that's where it's good conversation, you know? And so that's where what we're doing in Auto World is, so we have our main Auto World site that's very generic, very broad, because it's kind of just that's the start of our massive funnel. And we've talked about funnels before. Everybody comes in there and then we kind of filter them down. We do set up landing pages that are more specific to promotions or something like that. But this is going to be one of the first times that we literally just dive in, swan dive into a very precise demographic. And I mentioned the Jeeps before, but we're going to try something with Teslas. So we've literally registered some domain names that are very Tesla specific, and we're going to build out pages only targeting Teslas. All the imagery, all the graphics, everything is going to be about Teslas. We're even building pages that have the nearest superchargers, pages that have the nearest service centers, things like that. It's going to be heavily Tesla oriented, and we will not be dealing with any other vehicle types. And we're going to try this for a few different makes and models and see if we can, triple down on all our marketing just for that group. And with that, we've been using AI to build profiles on customers. And that's the cool thing, is that you start to see similarities between them. And so we started off very generic. We went to ChatGPT and we just said, hey, listen, the first question was, we asked ChatGPT, are you familiar with the Cybertruck? Because if it doesn't know, you're going to get stupid answers, right? And so ChatGPT said, yes, of course. And they gave us some info about it. Da, 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 da. And I said, okay, now build us a profile about a typical Cybertruck purchaser who's going to purchase that vehicle, who's going to drive it, so on and so forth. Started to spit out some stuff. We said, okay, let's repeat the same process for all the different models. So we did it for the S, we did it for the X, the Y, and the 3. And we're like, okay, so now we've got these different profiles, and now we can build on that over time. But at least it's a starting point. And that's super, super specific. Like you're going after people that buy into one particular brand, people that have got behind a concept or an idea. But now you have a very clearly defined and precise audience that you're talking to. So everything that you put together, and this is where you can piggyback off somebody else's story. And so in this case, you let Elon and you let his followers tell the story. So now all you have to do is just latch on to certain things that are highlighted within their story. They've already explained the how, and they've got people that are very tech savvy. They can care about the environment to some degree. Most of them, different things like this. So you can build on to someone else's story by just highlighting your how and how you can solve certain problems that they have, because they will have specific problems. Similarly, Jeep owners, if you target them, for example, they will have very different problems than the Tesla owners, and they will have specific problems that are
We got to
different
find a
than.
bigger dash for all our duckies. That's what we got to find.
See?
Big problem with the
Exactly.
duckies. That's what we got.
That's it. See, exactly. But precision, I think, is key, because being able to have a clear goal for your marketing department is really important, and being able to craft all of your marketing materials and your assets that you have towards a very distinct goal, a very clear, well-defined, and precise goal. I think it's key, and it's going to help you in your search marketing. It's going to help you in your YouTube videos you put out, and it's really going to help you gain traction because you're dealing with a very specific demographic. So my word of the year is definitely precision. Now that being said, because you might say, okay, well, I just kind of market to all cars. I don't want to just get focused on one thing. There's other ways that you can do this as well. And I came across a. Go
You
ahead.
said you think people don't want to miss out. I think it
Yeah,
was what you just kind of said there. Well, I just want to kind of market like, and I think it's a
just
much more
everywhere.
lazy. I don't want to do the
Yeah,
work. I just
yeah,
want to throw some marketing out there so I can say
yeah.
I'm marketing. And so when Shawn asked me how much I spend on marketing, I can tell him
I can tell them
I'm
a
marketing.
figure. Yeah,
When I'm in a Facebook group, I can go tell people like I've spent this amount of much market. Like,
exactly. But it's like,
but you
how did
didn't
you do
really
it?
put in the extra work that Shawn's talking about.
Exactly. And that's where you can see it when you go to Facebook ads. They have two options, right? You can do the wizard that
Mm-hmm.
Facebook will kind of automate and optimize, and it'll use AI and it'll figure out your demographic for you, and it'll do everything. You just set a budget, and then you basically walk away. Then there's the other option where you manually create your ad placements, and you have to choose the demographics, choose the interest, choose the radius. It takes you 10 times as long, but that hard work is what really yields those dividends, right?
And you pay
And
more too.
yes, you do, absolutely. But the results you're going to get, there's a reason why Facebook doesn't charge as much for the wizard one. It's because you're basically just throwing money around, right? And especially in the beginning, if you have a long time that you can wait before you need to see results, that might not be a bad idea. I still think it's a bad idea, but it might not be. But it's going to go through such a long learning phase because it needs data. It needs to know, okay, well, we showed this ad to 10,000 people and 200 people clicked. So you just paid for those 200, but we're not going to charge you very much because it's basically useless. None of them are going to convert. Then we're going to show it to another 10,000 people, and oh, those 200 people clicked, but none of them converted. So you just paid for those ones. It's constantly learning, and that phase takes a long time. Versus if you actually take the time, get precise with your marketing, you're going to have much better results. But it is going to take the work. You got to put the work in, and that's where one of those things that you just have to do either yourself or you have to hire someone that knows how to do that. And so, at the very least, if you're not going to do it yourself, at least be armed with this knowledge that when you talk to a marketing company, assess them. See if they're just going to tell you what they do. Oh, we're a marketing company. We help people get the word out. Okay. You haven't told me how. How are you going to do that? And if they're not telling you things that focus around getting precise and being very, very precise with your marketing dollars, that's a red flag. So maybe start to ask a little more probing questions to make the right decision. Let's say you do want to go paint with a broad paintbrush or whatever the saying is, and you want to target all vehicles. That's fine, but there's other ways you can get very specific with your marketing and increase your precision. And Marty, I was looking at some stats on different demographics and stuff like that online. Do you know how many churches there are? Speaking of ministries and stuff in the United States alone,
Too
it's,
many.
it's insane.
Too many.
350,000. That's insane. There's only 14,000 McDonald's locations. So compare that. It's, it's compare those
The
two
fact that you
numbers.
said only,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
surprised we have that many McDonald's. Like,
Okay, that's true. If you look at a map and you see all the locations, it's literally everywhere. But then if you overlay a map of all the church locations, it's insane. And so the big takeaway here is McDonald's, I would say, does have a pretty big following. It's unfortunate, but they do, right? Of customers. Now factor in the churches, for example, and you could do the same, kind of activity looking up different demographics because our governments, they all do it. We all collect census data. We all collect data on, businesses or registered organizations. You can do this for virtually anything. But what you're looking for are pockets of people. You're looking for pockets of people that have common interests and common goals. And so when you can find these, what you now have to do is turn on the creative juices and start to think, okay, so what do these people look like? And if you're unsure of how to start that process, ChatGPT is really good for that. And I can post a tutorial of how you could literally generate some profiles for these in 30 seconds or less.
yeah, that'd
And
be
it's
great.
it's
Yeah,
free
definitely
and
put that in
fast.
the group.
You know what?
Definitely.
I will. That's a good
Yeah.
idea. And then it's just asking the right prompts. Our last episode, I went over the formula for the perfect prompt. So I'll cover both of those in the video and I'll post it because that's a good starting point where you could say, okay, so you can ask AI, what would, there's 350,000 churches in the United States. I'm in this city and there's, I don't know, 1,200 or 2,000 of them. These are the denominations. What, based on what you know about the world, would these people have in common? So you can start to look for these commonalities, and that's where you can start to get really precise with your marketing, your imagery. It's going to dictate everything. All of a sudden, what seemed like a big daunting task to do this marketing is actually going to be quite easy because now you know what to do. It's the equivalent of taking 5 steps closer to the dartboard and then trying to hit the bullseye. That's what this level of work entails, but that's the result you're going to get. And so you're going to get more precise with each shot that you take if you follow this kind of formula. So I'm definitely going to post that in the group. I think that's a
Definitely. Yeah, that's a great
good way
one.
to go. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's solid. Yeah, yeah. See,
very
and
solid.
that's where. See, this is what happens when you listen to the Off the Clock show, and instead of other shows that they run out of tips. This is the place. That's it. But no, solid stuff. And so guys, take a look at how you're presenting your messages out there in terms of your why versus your how, and the what we do and who we are, and try it out next time someone asks you, "What do you do?" Try out some stuff. Like I think that's a great one. I'm guilty of it too. People ask me what I do, and usually I'll be like, "Oh, I have a couple companies. I'm a venture capitalist, this and that." Really tells them nothing unless they're looking for venture capital. It tells them nothing. But I always just assumed like, I'll find out from them if maybe there's a good fit. But I think I'm guilty of that too. So I'm going to start reframing how I do that myself as well. Like, oh, well, what do you do? Well, do you know anyone that hates paperwork? See what I mean? Just that boom, that one question right there. Oh yeah, my wife, she's got this business. She absolutely hates it. Ah, interesting. And does she use software for that or like totally different conversation. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
So that right there, put it into practice. I'll let you know how it
Oh,
goes.
yeah.
Salud, man. Appreciate you. So same time next week. We'll see you guys. Don't forget, check out the Pints Polishing podcast. I'm unfortunately going to miss that episode. I will be at a hockey game with the whole crew, so that'll be good. But yeah, I'll let you know how the score goes. We're gonna get whooped. I can tell you right now. It happens. Anyways, man, Marshall, appreciate you. All right, guys, check out Pints Polishing podcast as well. We'll see you next week.
See,
Cheers.
man.